What's up, everyone? My name is Brian William. I'm a full-time futures trader. I've been trading for over 5 years now. Just went full-time about 5 months ago. So I'm starting this YouTube channel. Gonna talk about and document my journey on pretty much what I do on a day to day, how I'm performing, how much money I make, how much money I lose, and pretty much just my process as a trader. So I wanted to start this video off with a weekly recap. This week, my emotions got involved a lot in my trading. As the title of the video is, emotions are expensive, because I knew I was doing this video. I knew I was doing this video since last week. And I came into this week just trying to perform. And I made a lot of trading errors that I normally would not make had I not been thinking about this video, had I just been focused on my system, focused on my edge. So let's get into pretty much how this week happened. So on Monday and Tuesday, I sized down. Normally I use about $300 to $500 for my positions. Knowing I'm going to be doing this video, I'm like, okay, if I make a mistake, I want to be able to try to come back. So I sized down. On my first position, I used $200 and I took a loss. Second position, I came back. I only used like 120 on this, about 100, 120, and I got a 2R, which is a great trade. Had I been using my normal size, this would have been a solid winning day. Instead, it ended up a break-even day, making 50 bucks. Tuesday, same thing. I come in, I size down. I'm using $100 a position. At this point, I didn't really respect the money as I normally would, just because in my head I'm like, okay, I'm just using $100. If it hits, great for content. If it doesn't, no big deal. I take another position. So I do that. I lose the trade, but my thesis was right. I had a good game plan overall. I was just early on the position. So these two trades, I got stopped out here, and then I just re-entered pretty much where I got stopped out. But I actually put size behind it. I put about $200 on the line, and was able to end the day at $127 profit, which is good, but a little less than I'm normally used to. So in my head, I just kind of just treated it like a break-even day, which is not good. At this point, I'm just not respecting the dollar value. I'm not respecting the process. I'm not respecting the actual trading, because the monetary value doesn't really matter so much as the process and how you're performing. So the same way you would trade $100 should be the same way you trade $1,000. All it is just a different amount of capital. Now, I noticed this, but it doesn't really register. I just notice it and I move on. I didn't take a loss. That's all I really cared about. Wednesday, I didn't take a loss, but I didn't make any money. And this is where tilt fully stepped in. I had a perfect long position on, and I'll pull it up. A perfect long position. This is my ideal entry. This is my ideal setup. This is what I look for on my continuation plays. First 15 minutes, price kind of just went sideways. At about 9:45, we spiked up. Price starts moving higher. Normally, I would like to get in around 68.13, but I opted not to get into that just because the move happened so fast and it would have been a chase, when ideally I would like to get in here on the break of this candle. So I didn't take this one just because it would have been a chase. Price pulls back, fails to go lower, and then I get in up here with a market fill at about 68.26. I got my stop loss down here at 68.06. This is under this continuation candle and underneath my hourly level. This was actually the prior day's close. So my stop loss is at 68.06, 20 points risk. This was a perfect trade. Price came down about 3 points from stopping me out, then bounced. Now, I should have just held this position and After 10 to 15 minutes, when I got out of this position, price ran 20 points and I would have made money. I didn't make money because after being in the position for 30, 35 minutes of it going against me and the prior 2 days of break-even days, I didn't want to take a loss. The fact that it came down 3 points from my stop loss spooked me out to the point to where I didn't even want to give price a chance to work out. Once we made a new high of day and we started to head higher, I didn't wait for the close above high of day. This is the 5-minute chart. So this candle wasn't even fully formed. It came all the way up here, new high of day. I instantly moved my stop loss to break even. I don't care about this 20 points of breathing room. Actually, it was even more at this point. This was like 25 points of breathing room I had of just solid protection for this trade to work out. I didn't care about that. The only thing I cared about is I didn't want to take a loss, and I was pretty much fed up with having break-even days. Price ends up pulling back, doesn't close above, pulls back, stops me out. Now I'm on full-blown tilt because 10 to 15 minutes later, price rallies 20 points and goes to my take profit. It goes straight there with no interruptions. Just 4 or 5 solid green bars. This point, I'm pretty pissed. I'm mad, but I didn't lose money. So I didn't know how to unpack what was going on. Then I had a call with Tanner, who is my coach from Strong Trading, and I had a call with Lawrence, who's another coach from Strong Trading. So they both helped me out and talked to me about my performance this week overall, and they talked to me about this particular trade because this trade should have been a winner. I interrupted it. I stopped it from being a winner. So Tanner goes over my hourly continuation model. He knows how I like to trade and how I like to just continue with the hourly momentum. If it's going up, just ride it up. If it's going down, just ride it down. After walking through the bigger time frame with Tanner, there was no reason for me to get out of this position. My emotions got involved and stopped me out of this position. Lawrence also breaks it down. Lawrence talks to me about my stop loss placements. The stop loss is this is clear invalidation. This is clear invalidation areas. My stop loss is fine. I interrupted my trade. So after they both help me out and they both review it, the bottom line is I'm just interrupting my trades. I am trying to perform. I'm trying to be too perfect. At this point, it's just performance anxiety. So I needed to make a change. I needed to size back up, and I needed to stop interrupting my trades, which now leads to Thursday. So Thursday comes around. This position, this was a good position, good long position. I lose about $600 on the position, which is not bad. The market sold off early in the morning, just sold off all the way into 10 o'clock, but then starts to bounce. It bounces right off of this weekly level. This is the level where Trump was talking about China tariffs and we sold off. This level has been like either we're supporting it and we're going to the moon, or we break below and we're sinking to China, straight goulash. So price bounces. I get in. I just get in my normal full size. I actually just put 500 on it. I'm like, you know what? I put the money behind the trade. I get in right here on this continuation candle. Price is working in my favor a bit. At this point, it pulls back. It doesn't stop me out, and it starts to go in my favor. Now I'm confident in the position. I add a contract, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to interrupt this trade. I'm going to walk away. So I set alerts. I set an alert at 1R, 2R, and 3R, and I walk away. And I physically get up from my desk, go walk my dog, just so I don't interrupt the trade. Because I know if I sit in front of this screen, I'm going to want to take profits here. I'm going to do anything to not let this trade play out. So I set my stop loss. My stop loss was at 60, 68, 70, but I actually got filled a little bit lower than that. I actually got filled like on this. The momentum actually wicked me out around 68, 67. So a couple points less. But I set my stop loss, I set my conditions. If price would have reclaimed the opening range and closed, I was gonna move my stop to break even. So it would have been a no loss position, and then I was gonna begin scaling out at 2R and 3R. I'm not in front of my desk. I just have alerts. So that doesn't happen. I'm actually up at one point I was up like $500 on the position, but I'm not playing to just break even. I'm trying to make money. I used to front run my positions a lot, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let it play out. Normally in this type of scenario, you can get at least a 2R, like very easily. A hard sell off aggressively, and then a crazy bounce like this usually leads to like a V-shaped recovery type of day. So I didn't touch it. I didn't manage it. I just let it play out, and I took the loss. And this actually was like one of my calmer losses. Like I didn't feel anything about this loss. I was like, okay, well, this is a probability based loss. I took it and I just moved on with my day. Now come today or Friday. I don't know when you guys are gonna be watching this. So Friday, I actually take just the base hit. Just end the week with some good momentum. I did front run this position. So this position I made about 350 bucks on. All of this price action from the open after we sold off and went sideways, I didn't touch it. Just left it alone. My system is based on continuation. If there's no continuation or signs that we're going to continue lower or continue higher, I don't touch it. I wasn't going to touch anything long unless we were above 67.13, and I wasn't planning on shorting unless we were below 6,700 psych. And then the opening range low was like 66.87, 66.87.25, but it just says 14 there, but it was 25. So I wait for this breakdown, and I get a clean 3-bar play breakdown of 6,700. I take this position, but I'm still kind of like on tilt, like slightly. And I just wanted to end the week green. I don't allow price to fully go to my 1R target, which if it would have came down here, I would have made 450 bucks if I would have just closed here. Price actually flushed straight through down to my 2R target, and I left about $550 total on the table. This position was a $450 risk to make 900, 2-1. I left $550 on the table. Between Thursday and Friday, I left over $1,000 of unrealized profits on the table just because of my emotions. I wasn't properly managing my positions. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, those results, that's just poor performance. Those, I can accept that. I can make adjustments for that. But yesterday and today, trying to rebuild my confidence in my system and how I see the market made me manage 2 winning positions poorly, which is why emotions are expensive when you're trading. You really want to be as robotic as possible. Like when you have a system, your system works, you gotta just leave it alone. That's how I was able to go full time. Like my system works. I know my system works. I have a stat wise 70 to 80% of the time I'll usually win. Now, how often does that happen in the real markets? It all depends on how I manage it. So the system works, but sometimes I don't work. And I have to make adjustments for that. Now, I have a couple of takeaways of how I plan to make adjustments for next week. and they could help you out of how I manage pretty much pushing forward. And so my takeaways for next week. I'm gonna get back to focusing on the process over my performance. I'm gonna stop trying to perform and just executing my edge. That's it. I just need to. I know my edge. I've built this system. I've back tested hundreds of times. I've put in countless hours. I know my system works. I just need to focus on it. So I'm gonna get back to focusing on my edge. Position size. I'm gonna get back to my normal position size. $300 to $500 per position. This way, mentally, I'll just respect the position a lot more. I don't know why when I use less than $300, I don't care about it as much. And I do know once I use over $500 on a position, it kind of messes with me mentally. So I just stick to that range, and that's what's been working for me. Now, I got to get back to one trade per day. So for the longest time, I've only ever traded once per day. After my back testing and reviewing my data and like looking at the market as a whole, I noticed my positions, I can get about 2 to 3 positions in the morning session. Between 9:30 open and 12 p.m., I can get at least 2, sometimes 3 on a good day. I can get those setups. But mentally, I'm not there to be taking 2 to 3 setups a day. Just kind of just trying to do it for the video, trying to push myself a little bit more, but I'm going to dial it back. So next week, to sum it all up, my focus for next week is I'm just going to be putting on positions with a 1 to 2 risk reward and walking away, whether I win or lose. I'm going to stick to my standard position size, anywhere between 3 to 500. Win or lose, that doesn't really affect my mental. And I plan to stay like that, and I'm going to create another video, so I will keep myself accountable. You guys can keep me accountable. And yeah, that's it. That was my week as a whole. That was my week as a whole. I pretty much lost a whopping $63. I'm gonna leave it there. Like this video, comment on the video, subscribe so that you can watch my journey, see how I'm doing, see how I progress, and yeah, peace.